This is the very popular National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. It has some of the most impressive aeronautics exhibits in the world. From the Wright brothers' first flight to space-age rockets and the famous moon landing vehicle. The exhibit about World War II aviation includes some of the most well-known aircraft of the day and information on the likewise famous men who flew them. Those knights of the air, the top fighter aces of many nations, are spotlighted. They include Italy's foremost ace, Major Adriano Visconti, claimed 26 victories. Top scorer for the United States was Major Richard Bong, who accounted for 40 kills. Japan's ace of aces, Wing Officer Hiroyoshi Nishizawa, eliminated 104 enemy planes. But the greatest of them all was Germany's Major Erich Hartmann, who personally shot down 352 enemy aircraft. Another Voice of Freedom now presents the last interview with Erich Hartmann, done at his home in Germany 2 years before his recent and untimely death. The interviewer was Marenko Bolkovich.
Okay, Herr Hartmann, you have started flying in what year?
1939, I think. I was born 22, then I was 17. On the first I started gliding, and then in the war I made high school, finished 1940. In 40 in October I came to the Air Force, German Air Force, and in 42 I came out to the war, out to the battlefield. Then 1945 I was prisoned by the American, and they gave us to the Russian in Czechoslovakia. Then I was 10 years prisoner by the Russian, came back, and they started rebuild a new German Air Force again here.
What was the reason that you started to fly?
Oh, I had fun for it. The whole propaganda and everything makes, as if you are young, one likes to drive bicycle, motorcycle, or rent cars, I don't know. I had my fun with flying. And with the glider flying, it saves my life afterwards during the war, because if you're gliding, you have always to see to the ground where is a point where you can land. And therefore, also later in the war, I was always flying, first look where you can land somewhere. If you have a crash land, to make a crash land or so.
I mean, you have been quite lucky during the whole war. You haven't been wounded. That's correct.
I never get hit in the area. But every time if you have to do some low-level business, strafing cars or hit or throw bombs, I get 16 times I had to make a crash landing.
A forced landing.
Yeah. I was very lucky that I came in a wing out where a lot of people had more than 50 and 100 victories. So this experienced people, if if I could fly with them as a wingman, I could learn the one he turns around me and makes dogfight. Didn't it? No victory. The next man, he climbed up always the highest point, and then he only attacks surprising. And the third one, it was Sergeant Russmann. He was wounded in the left hand and had was heißt Schiene. And had a piece of iron here in the hand. He was very vorsichtig, was heißt das?
Careful.
Was very careful. He looks a long time and then he attacks immediately. And from this tree I learned the second man was the best who attacks only from high. First climb up, stay in the sun, come out of the sun, and you had always a surprising attack.
Did you use oxygen mask?
Yeah, from 4,000 meters within 12,000 feet, you put on the oxygen.
And for how long did you have oxygen when you were flying?
Oh, for 1 hour.
For 1 hour? Yeah,
one and a half hour.
Yeah, aside it was limited by the gasoline, so you had enough for flying to...
The mission duration was always 1 hour.
I see.
To do 120, because but if you get a fight or somewhere attack, always with full power.
You had a black tulip on your plane for a
only
while.
A short time.
Yes.
They show it now always in picture and paintings and so on.
Yes.
Because I had only for myself this black tulip.
Yes.
And after 2 or 3 weeks, if I came out and the Russians recognized me with the black tulip, then they escaped first.
I see.
And was waiting.
Was that your idea?
And then I gave the black tulips for young pilots
To start with?
that they have more security.
Was that your idea to paint the black
No,
tulip?
this was from what is that? Wie heißt man Wartungsleute?
The crew.
Yeah.
Oh, the crew.
Ground crew.
Oh, the ground crew. I see. During the book that has been written about you, I felt quite emotional in one part when you were caught because you made a forced landing and you were caught by the Russians and you disappeared for a few days, and your crew chief Mertens came behind you.
He likes to pick me up.
Yes, and he must have been quite a man.
Yeah, I had always the same. We had in our Air Force, the old Air Force, the regulation, you have always the same ground crew.
I say.
One was the man who works for you. And if Bimmel or how you say in English? Oh, the English is going away slowly.
Yes.
If he says all is okay, then you go in the airplane.
Yes, that would be like your half.
Yeah.
Because without him you couldn't go up.
Exactly. If I get another job somewhere, then he comes with me.
I see.
Automatically.
How many hours did you have to recall the engine?
From the Messerschmitt about 100 hours.
So fast?
Yeah. But mostly, every 50 hours we lost one.
You have flown mainly Messerschmitt,
Yeah.
109, correct?
Most time.
Yes, that's you started your war, you said in 1942, your war experience.
Yeah.
And why didn't they change you never to Focke-Wulf 190?
Well, it depends on what kind of wing you are. I was in March 45. I had changed to the Messerschmitt 262.
Yes.
What is that?
Jet.
Jet. But the airplane was okay, but you had a lot of technical failure in it. You need about 21 seconds from
Start.
to start the engine. You have to turn 1, 2, 3, 4. If you put the accelerator fast
Full
forward,
power.
then was on fire.
And how was the difference between the Messerschmitt 262 and the 109? Was it? I see that it was much faster, but how was the control?
The Messerschmitt was in in turning was much better, but the 262 was very, very fast. At about 700, how much is that, miles per hour? 700 kilometers per hour.
Yes.
And but the 262 couldn't turn
At that speed.
You could only drive straight away about what we had now in the new Air Force with the 104. You couldn't turn nothing.
You think that your experience in the 262 made you already set your mind for the 104?
Yeah.
You could see that the problems were coming because it was much shorter wingspan.
You could very good escape with the 262, and you could very fast attack somewhere.
Yes. You, of course, you've been in close contact with Rudel.
It's Rudel. Yeah.
Not Mr. Rudel, while he was alive. Ulrich Rudel.
I had a lot of contact during the war because we had to fly over him to save the Stukas from the other fighters.
And how was the job when you were flying combined with the Stukas? Did you fly out higher than the Stukas did?
Yeah.
I see. You let
Absolutely.
You let them do their job.
He made the job about 1,000 meters below. And if Russian fighters are coming, attack Stukas, then you come upstairs. And mostly if you shot one of the attacking fighters down, then the other escape.
What was your favorite? Were you using always mainly the cannon or the guns?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
I see. Did you have tracing bullets?
What is that tracing bullet?
Tracing bullets, the one that leaves the light behind?
Yeah.
You,
Every fifth bullet was a light.
a light bullet.
Yeah.
I see.
You could see.
What was it? Red?
Yeah. Come?
Was red colored?
No, red, yellow, red.
Yeah, I see.
Sometimes.
I see. Yeah.
The closer you go to the target, then the bullet goes through.
At the beginning.
Normally you could open the fire in 400 meters, but then you could see no hits and the bullets goes away. And if they hit, nothing happens.
Yes. Mainly
Therefore, I am mostly 100 meters and below.
Yes, mainly with the Shormovik. That was so strong, so full of armor all around. Can you show me with your hands how was your approach on the Shormovik? Because it's very interesting, as you say it on the book.
With the hands out of the sun, come, and if he goes here, dive a little below him that he can see, look backwards, and then close in. And if the windshield was filled up with the whole target, then it works.
Yes.
And today you have more modern weapons. You have rockets, they go to 20, 40 miles. But I talked with American fighter pilots who was in the Vietnam War. They told me you can see you can see if the rocket is coming.
Correct.
Because he has smoke behind, and then you have wait that the rockets come close to you, and then break. And the rocket cannot make the same time.
Correct.
Because it's much too fast.
So you think aerobatic flying would be necessary for that kind of maneuvering?
Yeah.
Yes. And
you can always try in the practice. There is no terror.
could you tell how did you escape once 8 Mustangs?
To bail out.
Yes, but how was it? How were you turning?
I was short before landing. I had no gasoline more, and I had to go back to the airfield. And then the Mustangs were above me. And I know if I put out the gears and they are coming, I can do nothing. Get out, bailed out.
I see. But you were, as it explains in your book, you were S-turning all the
No,
time.
they asked me, the Americans asked me how you could do against the Mustang. if the Mustang came always in about 8,000 meters, and there was an absolute superiority from the Mustang against the Messerschmitt, because you had high altitude charger in the Mustang. The Messerschmitt was slow then, and the Mustang was fast then. But if you get the Mustang down to 5,000 meters, then the Messerschmitt was superior. You build an airplane to go away from the battlefield and decide in the air. First you have to decide in the air, but you air superiority, and then you can come slowly down. Because who is in the air, who has the air superiority, that's very easy then. Then the army and so forth, they can nothing do if there's air superiority is on the other side. We could occupy Poland within 2 weeks. We could in 2.5 weeks occupy Netherlands, Denmark and Norway, 2.5 weeks. Then what was France in 6 weeks, but always with an absolute air superiority. And then they start 1941, the war against the Russians. In 3 months they were 100 kilometers in front of Moscow. And then starts the land and lease law. This means that the Americans give all the material. They give Aerocopters, King Cobras, Mitchell, Douglas Boston. They had 1942. If I came out in the Caucasus and Stalingrad starts, they had only American material. That was the end first.
I see.
And then a lot, we had always to fly 2 against 50, 60, 2 against 100, against 1,000. In Romania, we flew with 16, one group against 1,000 American bombers and 500 American fighters. What you can do. Then the air superiority was absolutely on the other side. And the change comes in England.
Is that the time when you flew between the two lines and they started to fight among themselves?
Between the...
When at one point you flew in between the Russian line and the American.
It was in Romania.
Yes, and
in the morning we start against the Russian, and exactly 12 o'clock you could every day look to your watch when the American bombers are coming.
Yes.
And therefore you could get some success because they didn't recognize you. And if you came out of the sun, you have this lot of airplanes you easily recognize, but if two somewhere are there, because every day you fly 1 or 2 times.
Yes.
At 1,400 missions in 2 years.
I see. Yes, with 352 kills. Were there more kills than what it's written down? Do you have more shot down?
You can. Now this I can tell more, because if you didn't have, was heißt Zeuge?
Log.
No, if you
witness.
Have
a witness.
Witness who tells and writes up. I have seen Hartmann hits the plane burns, and then
I see.
And then only it was counted.
The war ends, and you're taken prisoner by the Russians.
No, taken prisoner by the Americans.
Exactly.
They gave us over to the Russians.
Correct. Now, why do you think that you had to stay so long in prison when, let's say, General Bremer, he also was taken prisoner, but he was in Nuremberg and he was left alone because he was a soldier?
For the Russian, I think that the Russian didn't like to give us back. We would stay today still there.
Is there anybody still there, you think?
Russia is a big land.
No, but of the ones that you were with in prison before you left towards Germany, do you remember anybody after you came?
I think.
Now, when you were at school, have you ever been taught anything about dating anybody else? When you were learning for training for pilot, have you been trained to be against the Jews, for example?
Against
The
the
Jews?
national?
No, the Jews.
No,
They never mentioned that.
they didn't say that. They made fun about the Jews, but not you get no training against them.
And now you say you've been in Poland. Have you passed through areas where concentration camps were? Like, let's say, Auschwitz, Birkenau, Bergen-Belsen. Have you passed?
No, we heard sometime here our own people comes in a concentration camp who have stolen or so, but we didn't very few about the concentration camps. Da wurde drüber geschwiegen.
Silence bound.
So,
Was er meint ist, ob sie auf ihren Flugrouten über diese Gebiete der Konzentrationslager geflogen sind. Die sind ja sehr groß gewesen.
Ich habe erst nach dem Krieg erfahren über.
So he never flew over.
I say,
He got this information all after the war.
do you think it's possible that that happened over the concentration camps? That they were killing Jews?
I don't know.
Because Rudel himself, he says that he flew over them, and he says the only thing that he saw was when the German cities were destroyed, piles of people. But he says that he never saw actually that happened. And he was surprised when he was interviewed by the British. What are they talking about? Because he never saw this mass of people being killed. So you would think that...
Because during the war, the young people was all at the front. Who works at home?
yes, of course.
And can't kill the people, then they can't work more. In the factories to build airplanes and tanks and cars and everything what you need.
That's correct. So were you aware that, for example, Auschwitz was a factory?
I think
Like
they have to work.
correct. They were building parts for planes. There was Bunaessen, which is for chemical, and also there is people still that was from there, and they say that there has been people working, and they heard rumors about something going on, but all the smell that they smelled was from the factory, from the steel, but never from the people, as they were saying, and nobody could ever see.
The people in the concentration camp is the same as in Russia. Russia has concentration camps so much, or so many, but they don't kill the people in the concentration camps because they are very cheap working people.
I see. So you would think that would be the German idea.
Must be in Germany the same.
Yes,
The first who had concentration camp was the English in the war with the Buren.
exactly.
Eh?
Exactly.
And that is to catch the people for working,
Exactly.
not to killing.
Yes. So you gave me here a map.
Yeah, therefore you have no people in the Russian who don't have work. As possible in Canada and States here. We have now here in Germany 2 million of people who has no work. They put them in the concentration camp. It's very easy.
Did ever anybody try to make you problems because you have been a star in a
No.
time which is bad today, or did anybody of the government try to treat you as a war criminal or something?
No.
Then you had a very bad life up to 55. How did your life change after 55? You came back
I
from
came
flying?
back and then the old friends from the Air Force are coming and asked me if I would join the new Air Force, who must be rebuilt now in the western Germany. Then I went there. I started in Landsberg, 56, August. Then I changed to Fürstenfeldbruck, and then 6 months to the States for gunnery training. Then come back, and then I built up the first fighter wing.
Then after doing all this military, when did you retire?
1970.
And after that, how was your life?
Then I had 5, how you say, flying schools up in near Bonn. And I was a manager of the schools and make a teacher for young pilots who like to learn to fly. It was my nicest time after the war, because you could fly against the 200 feet and you could look in the gardens of the people, the swimming pools, and this was a nice time.
And right now you're then retired. Are you receiving pension from the German government?
Yeah. You see, I said American.
I say for having served in the war.
You have to be 35 years. You have to be or to stay in a service. Then you get, if you get retired, 75% of your last payment.
I see.
I think it's about the same in the American Air Force.
I see. So you are now a happy man?
I am a happy man. We don't travel more.
I see.
We get always invitation to the States every year, 2 times for reunion parties for all fighter pilots, but I don't like to travel more.
Would you like to come to Canada maybe?
No.
No.
You stay here.
Yes. Well?
Because if you drive for the reunion party, you have to do the guest speaker. You have a lot of work to make the speech, what like the people to know, ask them. I made 2 times guest speaker with the Vietnam people. I didn't know that a widow from a Vietnam soldier, she gets only 68% money as if he was a soldier who was killed in the Second World War.
I see.
Because I have lost.
Yes.
It's an American thing.
Okay, well, Herr Hartmann, thank you very much for spending your time with us.
I hope you had a nice trip here in Germany and you come very healthy again spring.
Yes, we will. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you again.
It was good.